let's do a speed test on this M20. So we are at gear 5, fully charged. We're going to do throttle only, and we're going to compare it on the GPS here in front of me. So let's go ahead and do that. We have a 1000 watt peak motor here. Initial acceleration is quite good. It's so comfortable the way the handlebars are designed, at a nice tilt, very wide. So display is saying we're going 39, GPS is saying we're going 38. So more or less it is actually quite accurate. Very happy to see that. So we actually did manage to do another speed test update when there was zero wind, and the bike actually did get up to 45 kilometers an hour throttle only. So I was very pleased to see that. It was at around 80% battery also capacity, only on one of the batteries, so I was very happy. It does have mechanical disc brakes, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit disappointed, but let me just test them and see what the mechanical disc brakes are like. By the way, you can easily upgrade the mechanical disc brakes on this to semi-hydraulic calipers if you wanted, which is very little cost and very easy to do, which I actually might do in the future. I just love it. I love the handle on this, and this bike is so quiet. It does have front suspension, it has midpoint suspension. So we'll do a brake test now in a second. This is my first ride on this bike, so it is practically, it's brand new. So okay, wow, there we go. So mechanical disc brakes actually do an okay job on this bike. Not actually that disappointed at all. So we have a few shores up ahead of me here, so we'll see what the suspension is like. Suspension's actually really good on this bike. More shores here. No bottoming out. Really nice. Another brake test. Whoa. We were going easily, 40 kilometers an hour there we hit. No complaints with the brakes. I could try and bottom out the suspension if I wanted. So let me see. Let me just have a look. It's extremely... There is a good bit of travel on this bike. Oh, you really have to force down to kind of bottom it out. But realistically, are you going to be going crazy doing it off-roading with this bike? No, not really. This is of course, a commuter bike. Now, a lot of people... Actually, when I saw this bike online, when Engwe, by the way, sent it to me to review, I was looking at the seat position, and I was saying there's no way the seat on this bike is going to be comfortable. But oh boy, was I wrong, because the seat is actually quite large, and the position, the way the bike is actually designed, is very comfortable. And I have to say, it's probably the most comfortable e-bike I've ever reviewed on this channel. The way the seat is nice and long, loads of cushion in there, you can move yourself up and down, adjust as you are riding. And yeah, there you go. The most comfortable seat I've ever had is on the M20 so far, compared to, a standard bike seat. Can't complain. By the way, if you don't want travel on your front suspension, you simply adjust the compression here, turn it clockwise to completely lock it. Or I prefer, of course, to have travel, so I have it completely unlocked. But really nice. You have this really cool handlebar style. I have it at a bit of a tilt. You can have it a bit more straight if you want, but it feels kind of like, a motorbike style bike, which I really like. Another thing as well is that you have a horn on the bike. You have really cool front daytime running LEDs. You can switch on them fully at night time if you want as well. Going around bends, because this bike has 20-inch by 4-inch fat tires, it gives phenomenal grip going around bends, giving you the confidence that you're not going to actually slip out underneath the bike. So for that reason as well, maneuverability on this is absolutely excellent. There are some bikes I reviewed like the Engwe X26 and the Engwe E26 that had huge 26-inch wheels, which were a bit too big in my opinion. This is perfect. So we're on a bit of gravelly area here. Again, the confidence to stop if you need to. Ground here is a bit rough, plus you have that gravel there. But I am going like 38 kilometers an hour, and I have the confidence to keep going at that speed. Really nice. People said the suspension is not great on this bike, but I have to disagree. I do like it, as well as because it has a low centre of gravity. We'll do a hill test now in a second. Because it has a low centre of gravity, it's easy to manoeuvre. If you're at a set of traffic lights, for example, you can simply just, you know, rest your legs very easily. I'm 5'8", so this bike is actually perfect for me. It should suit most riders unless you're really tall. There is a hill here. This bike has 55 Newton meters of torque from that 1000 watt peak motor. We'll do a zero start, see if we can get up this hill here. There's only a few scooters and a few bikes that have been able to get up this hill. By the way, I am just using, of course, one battery. I'll talk about the batteries in more detail, but let me see exactly what this bike can do. Okay, so we're going to go up this hill here. Zero start, not pedaling at all. Cool. Yeah, look at that. And the speed is still increasing. Absolutely love it. Excellent performance. There is another hill here that's actually a little bit more steeper and longer. Again, I do have to point out, when you look at hills on cameras, on videos, they don't actually look that steep, but in reality they actually are. Okay, let me go up this one here. Zero start, acceleration only, gear 5. There we go. From a 48 8-volt 13 amp hour battery. So I have to say, suspension is good. Midpoint suspension is good. This back saddle is probably the most comfortable one I've ever been on a bike, because you have loads of room there and it's nice and wide, so you're comfortable. I mean, absolutely excellent. But we're going to break the specs down definitely now in a bit more detail. Give my overall verdict. Who is it for? Could it be for you, or is there maybe an alternative? So if you take a look at the bike, the way it's designed, like I said, at first glance I was like, God, the saddle looks a bit too far back, so it can't be comfortable. But I was so wrong. Again, 5'8" here, you can easily get on this bike, and because the saddle has side cushioning as well, it provides comfort there. So if you're at a set of lights, you can have one foot on your pedal, the other foot on the ground for stability, waiting on the lights to turn green, and then off you go. So I have to say, it's probably the most comfortable bike that I've had. And by the way, this extra battery here I'll talk about in a few more minutes. If you wanted, you can shift this battery up a bit more as well. So if you have kind of like a bit of a wider leg, you can just slip that battery right up a bit further to make yourself even more comfortable. So it's customizable in that way. So this is one of Engwe's latest bikes, the M20. Let's talk about the specs for a second. You have a 750 watt rear motor with a 1000 watt peak, and as you can see, with that 55 Newton meters, you should be able to climb most hills with ease. And on top of that as well, you can also use your legs to get you up even a steeper hill if that is the case. So from a hill climbing stability standpoint, you won't actually have an issue. Now this bike is actually kind of customizable. You've two options basically to choose from. You can just get the standard 48 volt 13 amp hour battery, which would be this one here, which would give you a range of up to 75 kilometers depending on what speed you're going or if you're using your legs or not. But if you want to get another battery, it's only an extra €200 give or take, which would give you a range of up to 150 kilometer range. Not only that, these batteries here are actually quick release. So if you're in an area where bikes are prone to get stolen, or electric scooters, wherever the case is, you simply pop your key into each of these batteries and it just comes out in your hand, and you can bring it indoors and charge it. That's the beauty of the M20. And as well, on both batteries you have USB charging ports, so you can charge your phone, you know, wherever the case is, in case you need a backup. So that's one of the excellent things. But let's talk about the saddle for a second on this. This is so comfortable. You have side padding all around this, and this is very, you know, it's nice and soft. It's probably the most comfortable I've ever been on an e-bike, and I have reviewed a lot of e-bikes on the channel lately, a lot from Engwe and some from other companies as well. But this is a design that I really like. Now, you do need to keep something in mind. If you are, like, let's say a 6 foot, 6.5 foot tall rider, you're gonna need to watch this. So like I said many times on this channel, I'm around 5'8". I wish I was taller. But if you are 6.5 foot tall, you need to keep in mind the reach of your arms. So for me, this bike is perfect from like a comfortability standpoint. Even if you're a bit smaller, you won't have an issue, because the handlebars are actually quite wide on this bike and they are at a tilt. If you want, you can have them a bit more straighter as well if you have longer arms. But if you are a taller person, you would of course be arching over a bit more, and the handlebars are not adjustable on this bike. So that's just one of the small cons. Now, just a quick note on the second battery. This battery here is the one that comes with, if you just choose it with the single battery option. If you choose the second battery option, it is quite easy to connect. There is already a really detailed video online on how to do this. Basically, the controllers are actually underneath the seat. Sorry, the one controller is underneath the seat, and you get a splitter connection to do this. If you follow those instructions, it would probably only take you 10 minutes. Take the seat off, pop the battery base on, pop the battery on, connect the splitter to both batteries, so both batteries are connected, and then that's it. You do need to charge, of course, the batteries individually because they are not connected. But I guess the joy of this would be, let's say you're using this battery one day, and next of all you have to travel further than you expected. If this battery goes flat, you simply turn on your second battery, and then of course you have that more range there. And if you're using your feet, if you ran out of battery for some reason on a day, for some reason you decide to travel 100 kilometers, you can simply pedal the bike as normal. That's the beauty of this e-bike, and that's one of the good things that I like about it. Another good thing about this bike is the safety aspect. You have mechanical disc brakes. Okay, I wish it would have came with full hydraulic brakes, but that means the price would have went up more. Overall, no complaints with the stopping power from those mechanical disc brakes, and if you wanted, you could simply upgrade them to semi-hydraulic calipers such as the X-Tech, which are very cheap and very easy to fit. So you have many options there. Another cool thing is that you have daytime running LEDs. I forgot to take the plastic off from there. But you have daytime running LEDs in the front and in the rear, and the beam from these front lights is very, very strong. So no complaints there from a visibility standpoint and a stopping standpoint as well. Comfort, you have the front suspension here, which has plenty of travel. Quite hard to bottom out unless you're going ridiculously hard with the e-bike. You also have midpoint suspension. You have 20-inch by 4-inch fat tires. Very comfortable, a very quiet e-bike, not a lot of noise coming from it. And another good thing I like is the cable management on this. Now, you do have cables from the lights, you have cables from the display, you have cables from the accelerator, but they are actually ran through the frame of the bike underneath here, making it a really nice tidy fit. And even the cables coming from the battery compartments are nice and hidden, so it's a very nice design. They really did think it through. You have a standard display here. To simply turn it on, you basically hold down this button to turn it on, and then that's basically it. You have your lights here for the front. You also have the horn, which is quite basic. To change the gears, you simply have your plus and minus button on the bottom. Of course, fifth gear will give you the highest speeds, whether you're using the accelerator or where you're using your feet. This is my own phone holder, by the way, so just ignore that. Handlebar style, very wide. I do have it kind of tilted here, so when you take this out of the box, if you want, you can have it a bit more straight. I have it at a little bit of a tilt to make it a bit more comfortable. But overall, it's probably one of the most comfortable designs I've ever seen on an e-bike. You do have 7 Shimano gears. I wish it would have 8 to give you you know, to help the motor a bit more, but that's just a small con. You do have, of course, the twist throttle. I generally don't like twist throttles, but because the handlebar area is actually quite long and wide, the twist throttle is extremely nice design. It's not poorly made, so it is very comfortable on your hands. And of course, you can adjust your suspension. You can lock it or have it to travel, whatever the case is. Like I said, battery compartment here. You simply turn on and off your battery like this. Both batteries are identical, 48 volt, 13 amp hour each, giving you a total of 26 amp hour with that range of up to 150 kilometers. You have your charging port just here, and then you also have a USB port here on both batteries if you need to charge your phone, help out a friend in case you're on a group ride. Pedals are not foldable, but you can buy them quite easily, so that's not really a con. Again, you have your midpoint suspension here, which does a good job. Mud guards front and rear, very quiet, no rattling, no banging from this bike. This racking, just to point out, is an extra. They did send it to me. So if you wanted to, basically, if you need to travel to work every day and you need to carry stuff, you can buy this racking fairly cheap. So if you're connecting your battery and you have the racking, you may as well do this at the same time. Take off this. You have a plate here that secures this, and then you have a couple of screws just here, and then that secures that racking. So if you're carrying something heavy, it will do a good job. It will support around 20-25 kilograms in weight. And then place your saddle down. So basically everything is hidden underneath here. Basically, when I did have this off, I was a bit afraid of water kind of getting into this area, but because the way it's designed, water would generally just go down and drip straight down the bike. So IP rating, just be cautious if you're riding this in heavy rain, like anything, like any scooter and any e-bike. Again, your mechanical disc brakes front and rear. I really like them lights. They are adjustable, by the way. If you wanted, you could have them pointing down more at the ground, pointing up. I have them pointing down. Overall though, the bike is absolutely excellent. Comfortability. We need to talk about the value, so let's go. Well, at the time of recording this video, if you want just a single option, it's just over €1,000, and if you want that extra battery, it's only €200. So the bike will stand you with both batteries at around the €1,300 mark, depending of course if you're in the UK, US or in the EU. The prices might fluctuate a small bit, but is it worth the money? Yes, it's 100% worth the money. It's probably at this moment in time my favorite e-bike that I've had from Engwe, and the reason why I said it is because both batteries, you can just take them off, so you don't have to bring the bike inside your house to charge it. You can take them off in a matter of seconds, which is what you want. You want that convenience factor there. It has the comfort factor, safety factor, has really cool lights, it's quiet, it feels kind of like a motorbike, the way the whole frame is designed. I mean, I don't have a lot of major complaints about it. I think it's a bike suitable for anybody, and if you live in a country where it's speed restricted, like 20 or 25 kilometers an hour, you can of course restrict the bike if you want to, so you have again that factor there. Again, I would definitely recommend this bike if you are looking for something around that type of budget. It's linked below, by the way, and if you want to check out my other videos, click on the screen right now, and I'll talk to you in the next video.